Primoz Roglic, carpe diem, living for the day, and I'll get back to that later, but right now I want to tell you he won stage 6 of the 2024 Critérium du Dauphiné, the first of 3 summit finish stages that ends this stage race with just 22 days to go to the Tour de France. He distanced Primoz Roglic in the final 3K of this closing 11-kilometer climb, the Allevard, and with the help of his teammate, Alexander Vlasov, he was able to deliver the final punch, the Roglification, to Italian Giulio Ciccone from Team Lidl Trek, blasting away right up here, 300 meters to go, stage win, taking the race lead yellow jersey off the shoulders of Remco Evenepoel, who took that race leader's jersey a couple days ago in the time trial. Yesterday was annulled due to the crashes, and today, well, it was game on. And Primoz Roglic showed that after his crash 2 months ago on April 4th in the Tour de Basque Country, he's back for the first victory since then, and only his second victory of the season after the time trial win in the Tour de Basque Country for his new team, Bora Hansgrohe. And boy, did they show ready to work in service of Primoz Roglic for the Tour de France. All this is testing ground, and all this means so much for Primoz. And I mentioned carpe diem, and I spoke with Primoz about that, about what all this means for the Tour de France, what all this means going ahead. He says, look, I don't care. I just want to enjoy this moment because I don't know what's going to happen. My shoulder still kind of hurts a bit. I don't know. Right now, I just want to enjoy this stage victory. They don't come along too often, he says. I have the yellow jersey as well. We saw up on the podium, he did his trademark ski jumping pose. Remember, he was a former ski jumper. Took on the yellow jersey, threw the flowers out to his little kid out there waiting and yelling for his dad, and then accepted the yellow jersey as well. Primoz Roglic, what a day out. What a showing by the Slovenian superstar. Yeah, the other Slovenian superstar, because you'll remember Tadej Pogačar dominated the Giro d'Italia, taking the month off, and then we'll reboot in the Tour de France, hoping for the double. But we're talking about Primoz Roglic, the OG Slovenian who lost the 2020 Tour de France on the final day to the younger Slovenian. Well, Primoz Roglic is in a new team that will support him for the Tour de France goals, and that's what they wanted to show today. The stage, 174.1 kilometers, stage 6 of the 8-day stage race. So many non-starters and non-finishers today due to that maxi crash in stage 5 yesterday on the wet roads. Juan Ayuso, who'll be teammate of Tadej Pogačar in the Tour de France, well, he told us this morning, did his interview and then didn't start the stage. Other riders, 8 in total, were non-factors in the early parts of today. We had a couple riders, Andreas Krohn and Alex Kirsch, pulled out right after the start of the race, mark them down as DNFs. The other 6 were DNSs, did not start. 3 summits during the stage, the final, the finish. The early one, well, that was an easy Cat 4. And then we had the final, the Cat 2, Granier, and then the Horde category final climb up to the Allevard, 11.2 kilometers, averaging 8.1%. But wow, we had 1 whole kilometer at 10.6% early on, the middle 3K at 9.7%, and the final K at 9%. The escape of 6, well, they began to get whittled down, only leaving Roman Gregoire. Earlier on in the day, they all took a wrong turn, had to readjust, get back on course. It was one of the riders who crashed early on, Gernalik. He crashed with Hollyman, going off on a right-hand turn, while Gernalik, he turned around quickly, the faster of the bunch there, the faster of the escape group, and started to go on the attack, but he then waited up for the others to rejoin him. It was Gregoire who joined him and then went solo himself. But it was brewing back behind. We had Trek working hard all day. They were trying to set up for Theo Gegenhardt, which might have been a mistake because at one point, Theo Gegenhardt just fades away. He was in the crash yesterday. He was complaining about hurt ribs this morning, and it wasn't going to be for him today. Now at the base of the climb, the gap just 2 minutes, and we still had 5 riders up front. Gregor, well, yeah, as I mentioned, he would eventually go free. Theo Gegenhardt drifting away, 9 kilometers to go. Seb Kuss, not on a good day. 8 kilometers to go, he drifts away. Team Ineos were working hard today for Carlos Rodriguez, the Spaniard. We had Laurens de Plus up there. We also had Omar Frel in the early moments. Josh Tarling up there in the early moments too. You remember he went second in the TT. The team was trying to set up something along with Kwiatkowski for Carlos Rodriguez. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out. but Laurens de Plus would set off a chain of attacks that would eventually see the attack and final win of Primoz Roglic. And let's get down to how that happened. Remco Evenepoel was in the group with the yellow jersey. You would have seen it unzip down all the way. I don't know if he was suffering from the crashes yesterday. He said mostly he was suffering from the Tour of the Basque Country incident over 2 months ago, the broken collarbone, scapula, and so on. 4.9 kilometers to go. You could see he was really on the limit when Laurens de Plus attacked from Team Ineos. Jai Hindley from Team Bora Hansgrohe, Roglic's teammate, started to follow them, then let it up. Gregor only had a 20-second gap at the time. Then Vlasov, he began to attack, bridged up to de Plus. There we saw those two. They caught Gregor at 4.2 kilometers to go. Neilson Powless, the American from Team EF Education, was in difficulty after all the work, and he did a lot of work. Sean Quinn for Neilson Powless. Ciccone, he was attacking. He was up there in the front. Roglic followed, and that was the moment that we saw Remco Evenepoel on the ropes. 3.4 kilometers to go. The attack by Ciccone in the Lidl Trek jersey, the blue, yellow, red, multicolored jersey. That attack pulled out Roglic. Up front, we saw Vlasov looking back because it was 3-2-1 Vlasov. He was ready to blast off for Primoz Roglic when Primoz made the bridge up. And so that was to be the case. Back behind the group with Roglic, who would eventually bridge up to Vlasov and Ciccone. We had a group with Jorgensen, Derek G, the Canadian, riding so well. Jorgensen 3rd overall, Derek G 4th overall. They were both there in that group, chasing behind. Also, Carlos Rodriguez hanging tough in there. But up front, once Primoz made the contact with Alexander Vlasov, they went to work, the new Bora Team Hansgrohe, to set things up for the Primoz Roglic win. And this is the win that he typically does. He'll ride all the way up there to the finish line and then launch it, hit the accelerator, take the stage win, and take the maximum bonus seconds, 10, 6, and 4 on the finish. Ciccone took 2nd. Then in 3rd place, it was Vlasov picking up the rest of the bonus seconds. Derek G, 4th place. We followed him over past the finish line, got some words with him, then went over to Matteo Jorgensen, who finished 5th on the day, protecting his 3rd place overall, but it's a close fight, and we're gonna get to the GC here in a second. Laurens de Plus finished for 6th, Carlos Rodriguez in 7th, and Remco Evenepoel 42 seconds back behind Primoz Roglic, who got the bonus seconds. So a 52-second gain on the day for Primoz Roglic. And then looking on the GC, Primoz Roglic now in pole position, 19 seconds over Remco Evenepoel. Matteo Jorgensen 58, losing time today on Derek G and on Roglic up ahead, but gaining time on Evenepoel. He now only has 3 seconds ahead of the Canadian Derek G from Team Israel Premier Tech, and Alexander Vlasov in 5th, Rodriguez 6th, Laurens de Plus from Ineos, who will now be right up there with Carlos Rodriguez to deliver the 1-2 punch for Team Ineos Grenadiers. And further on, Oliver Lascano, just the big surprise rider of the last couple of years, the Spaniard from Team Movistar in 8th overall. So what do we have here? Well, we have 2 more summit finishes to go in the Critérium du Dauphiné. We don't know how Remco Evenepoel is doing, but if you think about it, he did a great TT and he seems to be on the downward trend now. He doesn't have that same explosive kick that Primoz Roglic has. It doesn't bode well for his chances to win this overall in the Critérium du Dauphiné. We were seeing an indicator of that in stages 2 and 3. We'll have to see how that plays out in the next 2 days over the weekend. But he has time to recover and recoup ahead of the Tour de France, again 22 days away. He remains in the white jersey. Matteo Jorgensen was wearing it today, just holding it for Remco Evenepoel, who had the yellow jersey. But the story of the day is the guy now in the yellow jersey, the Slovenian, there with his wife, there with his kid, and there with his new team, the new team in green, Bora Hansgrohe, because it's Primoz Roglic, carpe diem, on top of the Allevard climb, the 2024 Critérium du Dauphiné.